And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. Look, we got to get there. So do me a favor, hit subscribe, watch, comment, and share, because the insanity, it's not going to stop. Now, I want to be clear about something. I like Jimmy Kimmel. I like Jimmy Kimmel, even though he poked fun of me too. I was on his show when I was returned from prison after being unconstitutionally remanded. In fact, it was so funny, I want to show you the clip. Play it.
And we paired it with some animation, specifically an old Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
An electorate that embraces Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and bows down to Donald Trump suggests a deeply sick and broken political system. These people are, by every stretch of the imagination, rotten, corrupt, and insane. One of them is an alleged underage sex trafficker, another a peddler of QAnon conspiracy, and the third, well, he's Donald Trump.
So Michael Cohen will be with us shortly. Donald Trump, if you're watching, and we know you are, get those little thumbs ready to suck.
I mean, he took that from my Mea Culpa podcast. I want to be clear about something too. That was from 2020. Yeah, 2020. Now, last night, Jimmy Kimmel, well, his late night show was pulled off air. And why? Well, based on some comments that he allegedly said about Charlie Kirk's death. Trump was quick to post his excitement on Truth Social. Let me show you what he said. In it, he writes, "Great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC. President DJT." Well, if that's not scary in and of itself, I don't know what is. Let me show you Jimmy Kimmel's comments. Play the clip.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's called free speech. In fact, my Substack of the day is ABC Disney silences speech again. Now, Sean Hannity, of course, goes on and he talks about the decision, saying that no conservative voices had said that they wanted Jimmy Kimmel off air. Play the clip.
Now, the left already, starting with Humpty Dumpty, fake news, CNN, J.B. Pritzker, Gavin Newsom, predictably claiming this is conservative censorship. The MAGA crowd, Donald Trump got Jimmy Kimmel. That is false. I can't find a single prominent conservative voice in the country that even remotely wanted or hoped or was pushing to get Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air. Nobody, it just was simple. People changed the channel. They didn't.
Okay. Well, Sean, what about Trump's post from this summer when Stephen Colbert's show was pulled off? Let me show you what it says. In it, it says, everybody is saying that I was solely responsible. What? That I was solely responsible for the firing of Stephen Colbert from CBS Late Night. That is not true. The reason he was fired was a pure lack of talent and the fact that this deficiency was costing CBS $50 million a year in losses and was only going to get worse. Next up will be an even less talented Jimmy Kimmel and then a weak and very insecure Jimmy Fallon. The only real question is, who will go first? Showbiz and television is a very simple business. If you get ratings, you can say or do anything. If you don't, you always become a victim. Colbert became a victim to himself. The other two will follow. We know exactly what he's saying there. I mean, really? How about when he said to Jonathan Karl, who was just simply asking him a question, well, I beat your company for $16 million. Maybe you're going to have to pay too. You know, as I wrote in my Substack, ABC Disney silences speech again. I started off by saying the American people have a right to decide. It is the most powerful tool we still have in this country. We get to decide what companies we support, which politicians we tolerate, and what kind of country we're willing to live in. That decision isn't just about casting a ballot every 2 or 4 years. It's about where we spend our money, which media outlets we trust, and what we allow powerful corporations to get away with. And right now, Disney and its subsidiaries like ABC, ESPN, Hulu, and the rest, they are daring us to look the other way because they've made it clear that their loyalty is not to the First Amendment, not to the American people, but to their balance sheets. And make no mistake, this latest capitulation was the direct result of presidential pressure. Because when push comes to shove, profit trumps principle. And the fear of offending the most powerful man in the world dictates what Americans are allowed to see and hear. Now, in more irony, I want to show you a clip of Trump from April of 29.
And I banned all government censorship and restored free speech in America. We have free speech. We didn't have free speech.
Anyways, this morning, FCC Chair Brendan Carr, he goes on CNBC, and he was asked if he was targeting comedians who are offending Trump. Play the clip.
I do wonder, and I think many people do, whether you really are just targeting comedians who who typically through the years have made fun of political figures in a way that because the president simply is offended by it.
No. Look, again, broadcast TV is different. We're on a cable show right now. You don't have an FCC license. You don't have an obligation to serve the public interest. Podcasts don't either. Stand-up comedians, whether they're on lots of forms of communications, don't. And Kimmel is free to do that. But if you have a broadcast TV license, that means that you have something that very few people have. And you're excluding other people from having access to that valuable public resource. And it comes with an obligation to serve the public interest. And again, over the years, there's been a rule in place at the FCC that local TV stations get to preempt programming that they don't think meets the needs of their communities. But recently, these national programmers, ABC, Disney, Comcast, NBC, they've been exercising outsized control and power over those local TV stations, and there's been no pushback. In this,
I hope not a single person watching this is buying into anything that Carr is saying. Now, let me show you Carr's response to ABC canceling Jimmy Kimmel's show. Here's what he said. In it, he says, I asked FCC Chair, this is Brian Stelter, I asked FCC Chair Brendan Carr if he had any new comment now that ABC has pulled Jimmy Kimmel's show. And he sent me this GIF. This is from the show, The Office. Really? Throw your hands up. Let me be very clear. Again, as I said in my Substack, let me share with you the uncomfortable truth. See, this isn't about Jimmy Kimmel at all. It's about power. And Disney and its partners, they are yielding to the president's relentless pressure. I'm telling you, I understand this better than anybody. They are allowing him to shape what can be said, what can be broadcast, and ultimately what the public is allowed to hear. Now, Carr also goes on, he says that Sinclair has every right to make Kimmel donate to Turning Point USA. Play the clip.
According to the New York Times, late Wednesday, I'm just quoting here, Sinclair, another owner of many local TV stations, said that it would also suspend Mr. Kimmel's program and called on Mr. Kimmel to apologize and make a meaningful personal donation to Mr. Kirk's family and the activist political group Turning Point USA. Do you think that's an appropriate remedy of the situation?
I think Sinclair has every right to call for that. Again, Sinclair affiliates with Disney. They take Disney contract. They have a contractual relationship with Disney, and that's between the two of them to figure out, what's going to make sense to make both of them comfortable with the relationship going forward. But again, over the years, it would be unthinkable for Sinclair, for Nexstar, for local TV stations to actually say, you know what? We're not going to take this particular programming that's coming out of New York and Hollywood and send it to Pennsylvania and Utah. And so the idea that local broadcasters feel like they can push back, I think that's a much, much healthier dynamic for the country right now.
First of all, the only way that you're going to get them to go ahead and to capitulate and to send money to Turning Point USA is Turning Point USA would have to then sue Sinclair or Jimmy Kimmel, which I'm trying to understand how this would even pass muster. I mean, that's what they would have to do in order to get, somebody's just going to stroke a check? Well, that's just called a donation. But you can't force a donation. And the fact that Carr is even talking about this, it's absurd. Now, last night, Abby Phillips on CNN explained the hypocrisy of it all in letting Fox continue to spew lie after lie after lie while using their broadcast license. Play the clip.
And he's obviously free to say it.
Will you defend that speech in this country that will defend to the death the speech of others? Will you defend Jimmy Kimmel's speech?
Do I defend Jimmy Kimmel going on television and saying that a shooter from the left...
You defend his right to do so.
He has a right to do so, but he does not have a right to have a television show where he lies his ass off to the American people and attacks half this country on a nightly basis.
Whoa. Hold on. Listen, there are plenty of people over on another network that I will not name who lied about the last election, who denigrate half the country every single night. And guess what? They are allowed to do it. Now, the question is, Scott, is the government...
By their company. It's their business decision.
Hold on. But is the government supposed to be punishing people for the speech that they don't like? Is that the role of the government in your mind?
The government is not punishing them. This was not a government decision. Ultimately, Disney made a decision. Ultimately, CBS made a decision earlier this year. You all are blaming the government. That's your opinion. That's your opinion about their business motivation.
All right.
Yeah. Again, you see, this is the problem. And I know that they think that this is good for the ratings. Abby Phillips' show, I mean, she's great. I happen to like her, but the show has shit ratings. Why? Because of people like Scott Jennings, who will sit there and they will lie to you to your face. No different than Fox News, with Brian Kilmeade and others, or Jesse Waters, when they just simply lie to your face and they make things up. Oh yeah, absolutely. It has nothing to do with government. This has everything to do with ABC, Disney. No, we know where the pressure came from, and it had to do with their profitability. It had to do with them staying in business. It had to do with the FCC license. And finally, in response to Abby's comments, I want to remind each and every one of you what Brian Kilmeade said about euthanizing homeless people. And here's the funny part of it. He gets to keep his job. Play the clip.
Billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say this. We're not voting for the right people. In North Carolina, wake up.
Yeah. Let me finish by saying this, something that I finished my Substack with. This is bigger than Jimmy Kimmel. It's bigger than ABC. It's even bigger than Disney. It's about whether we, as Americans, are willing to defend the right to speak uncomfortable truths, to mock our leaders, to push back against the powerful without fear that the plug will be pulled the moment someone in a corner office feels queasy. And as always, thanks for listening.
Hey everyone, first of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.